So anyway, I had a fantastic night school. And I mean, it was just like, it was like a reunion. It was like a reunion being back in night school. Like, oh, I missed you guys. Oh, I've just been sleeping. And but they were like, we've just been waiting. And so, whew, I mean, I'll give you the whole lowdown later, but the big lowdown was like, woo, whew. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas were behind me, and whew, and then suddenly the programs came in to have me see how, as a woman, and a woman, a Mahayana woman, which I guess would be a bodhisattva, and the feminine. It showed me like the tendency, and the tendency is to magnetize and hold, and how this person would, you know, and at the physical level, it's to magnetize, hold attention, right? Or to even my creative projects, my Lama had to say, like, Nicole, you have to put out your project. Did 16 books on projects. And I was like, I don't care. I don't want to. I want to hold. And so there's that level of woman, and sort of what we talked about, how the release is, you know, the pushing out of the orgasm being creativity, whatever you wish for it to be. Then the middle level was, I guess I'm just going to talk about.
Yeah. Hey, keep going.
So then the middle level was this sort of Mahayana bodhisattva level, where you take in people's pain, you know, sort of the Kuan Yin ideal, and really the West Coast idea, and you take in this long suffering way that that denies self and is self-sacrificing, and you hold people in a certain way. And in that way, you know, it's like spiritual codependency, you know, if you're good, and so and you don't release them back to themselves with their consequences, And then the third level, and this is what was opening last night, though, it was almost like just the feminine. It was just the feminine. It wasn't like Nicole, it was just the feminine. And the way the feminine just absorbs everyone's karma, and just continues to absorb it. And then in the same way, when I was learning Om, I had to learn to absorb the stroke, but then unleash or emanate. This I had to. It was a reversal of self in a certain way. It was like absorbing everyone's karma for a long time. And then, but then all of a sudden, and the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and it was like, oh, here, you all might be needing this. And it was just, and then the mind just went to all of the places where the karma that had been being held in the feminine for people could be returned. And the lesson came, like in night school, let karma discipline them. Only their own karma will bring discipline, and allow everyone to have their karma. And you can emanate it. You can lojong, if anybody's familiar. You can draw it in. And you can cleanse it. But you have to send it back so that everyone has a reflection, like Vajrabhairava in the Rubin Museum talk that I did, where the reflection of one's own karma is both what kills and awakens. And so anyway, that was my night school last night. So I love juice cleanses. That's what I have to say. And I hope that all of you, you know, because I'm borrowing your energy to do it in a certain way. I'm borrowing your willpower. I don't have any willpower. That's what it is. I'm borrowing your willpower. I don't have any. So if I could borrow it for a good period more, and then I'll just go macrobiotic, and then we'll just stay in this particular frequency for a while. The last frequencies were wonderful. And this new frequency, that's where we're headed. Mind you, I am not speaking for Tibetan Buddhism. I am speaking for Eros. I don't know if Tibetan Buddhism would agree on this, but I love that I'm having the woman talk with Bob. I love Bob. But I can say, so I do know in Tibetan Buddhism, the notion of feminine, Vajrayogini, there you go, Eli, is a magnetizing force. And I think they use the word corrupted, which I don't love, but corrupted, it's mere magnetizing and passion. You're just, it's considered like the flame that draws in and consumes. That's what. And then as it purifies over a period of time, it transitions to compassion. The Dalai Lama is actually Vajrayogini energy that has been transformed to compassion, where there's still the magnetization that draws people in, but it draws them in order to be loved and revealed, not to be merely consumed. That's the sort of model that we have. And so I think that's true. And I think there's a middle that we don't talk about, and that's that draws in, all autopilot is corrupted behavior, but draws in for right virtue.
Right.
It's not drawing in merely to consume, and it's not yet at the place where it's drawing in order to offer compassion. It's just drawing in, and it hasn't turned. Sort of like the peak, we talk about the peak in an ohm. It hasn't made it through that turn to where it's putting back out. And so I think we see this in the world. We see women taking on a lot of the burden. By the way, nobody's right, nobody's wrong. I love my men. This is not a man thing. This is just the forces. But you see women taking on a lot that isn't theirs, thinking it is, wondering why they're so fucked up because they can't stand up underneath the weight of all they're carrying. And the best women know to do is keep piling it on, right? It's like, oh no, it wasn't enough that we were housewives. It wasn't enough that we had children. Oh, we want to work. Oh, not only do we want to work, but we want to be boss bitches. Then not only then we want to run the world. And it's like, okay, that's great. I have no problem with that, provided that it's circulatory and it's sent back so that you guys have something to do too. You must be so bored. Poor me. Well, right? You definitely. So, but really what does end up happening is women think that taking on and piling and absorbing is honorable, and that these men are just stupid, right? But we all know the fact that any being without their 2 water bottles, like the dog, the dog whisperer, he put the water bottles on the dog, so the dog felt that it had purpose, and it went from being crazy to, a good little guy. We all know that, and we also know from the prisons that one of the beautiful things she said was during COVID, the women who were in prison weren't permitted to do the service they had been doing, and that these women go crazy without the ability to contribute. So really, women, we get so like, oh, everything sucks. I'm holding so much. It's so terrible. And those men, they're just skateboarders and watch TV and play video games, and we don't realize, like, no, that's because you took it, baby. It's because you took it and then didn't deliberately put it back in a way that they could succeed and win. And because we had we had 2 things against us. We had the misunderstanding that doing is power. No, because men held the authority, not even the power. Men held the authority. So then we went and we said, you're just drawing so much out of me, Bob. So then we went and said, oh, they have the authority, which we called power. It's not power. Power is influence, like gravity. That's power. Authority is where you control the means of production, right? So we said they have the power, and then, oh, well, how did they get the power? Well, they're running around doing tons of production. And so let's do more of that. So we said that, and then we cheated because we have magnetism, so we could draw all of that to us on top of it. So we just freaking drew all of it on top of us, and then we didn't do what we're here to do, which is, emanate, inspire, to control the means of production, which is the masculine, but not control in the negative way, to control, to have thrive the means of production, which would be men. So, there's this terrible misunderstanding. It has to do with this draw and the fundamental lack of training in the world to transform that, to put back out